Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm so excited to introduce you to Anna from the Chicago Family Doulas. Anna has been in business for 15 years.
Yeah, pretty much. 14 years as a doula, and then my agency about 11 years now.
Perfect. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about your doula company, how you got started into this, and a little bit about your family.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, first of all. I have 3 kids of my own, and that kind of started me on this trajectory. So my oldest is 14, and right after I had her, I realized how amazing doulas are because I had a doula at my birth, and I was like, actually, this might be the most important job that I could do is be a doula. I was a special ed teacher at the time, which was also a very important job, but I really loved my doula and I couldn't believe what an impact she made. And so I became a doula and kind of started that and just really didn't totally know how to let go of teaching. It took me a few years. And then, I started my own business and pretty quickly after that opened Chicago Family Doulas and have provided so many families birth support, postpartum support, childbirth classes, resources for over a decade now. And then I actually created a branch of my company called Birth and Baby University, where we sell all of our classes online and people from all over, other doulas can teach those classes throughout the country. So really, my educator background really still is at the heart of all I do. I want families to feel prepared and excited and competent and all the things about this process. And
Okay, so let's take a step back. So you have 3 kiddos, 14, and then how about the other 2? How old are they?
12 and almost 8 at the end of this week. All girls.
All girls. Oh my gosh, that must be craziness. I have 1 girl in the middle. I also have 3 kids. And how is that, and we'll dive into the doula stuff in a second, but how is that dynamic with 3 girls?
It goes in flows. Like sometimes I'm super proud of how well they get along, and sometimes I'm just like, please, no more fighting. But they're very awesome, like hands-on, rough and tough kids. So they're not girly yet. Maybe they won't ever be. So they're just, outdoorsy, camping, bike riding kids. Yeah.
Now, did you have a doula with all 3 of your kids? And did you have the same doula?
Good question. I had the same doula with my second and third, but I had a different doula with my first because I had my first in California, and then I had my second and third in the Chicagoland area. So,
okay. Well, that's awesome. So I know that when you started off the company, which was almost 15 years ago, and you started it off, and I'm sure you were like, I just had a doula. This was an amazing experience. I want to go ahead and start this. How, and as a business owner too, I'm curious, how has it changed from when you started the company until now? Because what I find a lot of times is that you start the company because you have this passion and you're like, I care so much about this. Of course, that's why anyone starts a business, you hope. But now being in business for such a long time, and not that the passion has changed, but how has it changed for you from the very beginning to now?
Mm-hmm. Well, my job is completely different. I feel like my job changes maybe every year. I'm fine tuning it every single year to do different pieces of my job. I don't get to do as much hands-on with families that I did in the beginning. Even phone calls with families, I don't have them as often, but I do every once in a while. I do, I guess my focus has been a lot more on education. So that has changed over the years and fine tuning that to be fantastic and accessible. I also became a doula trainer. So I've always seen myself as a mentor for my team, but as a doula trainer, I feel like there's like this other piece of mentorship. So I definitely am a mentor more than I imagined I would be, but and that keeps evolving, you know.
Oh, for sure. And how many doulas are within your group?
Yeah, so we have we have about almost 200.
Oh my gosh. And are they all in the Chicagoland area, or are they, that is a lot of doulas. Have you seen, I know because I live in Austin, I have seen so many people here in Austin become doulas within the last 5 years. Like all of a sudden there's this huge wave of lots of doulas. So how do you see that in Chicago too? Is just all of a sudden everyone is finally discovering really what doulas are?
Yeah, I would say yes, for sure. Like, I think it started, we always laugh about this, the doula community, but really during the pandemic when hospitals said you can only have one support person and a doula, that really made families think differently about doulas. Like up until that point, I think they were putting us in the same category as like, well, my sister, my mom, my friend's gonna support me. And then like the medical community really validated us as professionals. Yeah, so really unexpected. You know, like just it seemed like unbelievable, really, that that's where people were like, well, my doctor says I can't have anyone else, but I can have a doula. It really just, that started changing things. Insurance companies are covering costs of doulas now. Workplace, amazing. Workplace benefits, we're seeing about half of our clients having amazing workplace benefits covering fertility and doulas. So some of our clients have, you know, anywhere from $2,000 to $50,000 to use. And if they work with their partner or wife or husband, then they also have their benefits also. So like some of our families have amazing coverage for doulas, which is so.
They need to. I've actually been recently reaching out to some bigger companies to talk about childcare benefits, just even like for just families for before they have a baby, after they have a baby, and then even the childcare piece of it. It's like, all right, people, let's like listen up. This is what everyone actually needs around here, you know, because it's so important to have that support from your employer, because then you don't have to worry about it as much, and you're not as stressed, can come back to work fully equipped and ready with like tons of support around you, which is awesome. Do you find that you place more postpartum doulas or labor and delivery doulas, or like what do you most families are looking for?
Yeah, good question. For us personally, more postpartum. We do support about 60 to 80 birth clients a month, but in terms of postpartum, it's a lot more than that. There's like a lot of need for postpartum, and yeah, right?
Think like I have, my kids are 17, and actually my son's graduating this week, so it's been just a little bit crazy, but 17, 16, and almost 14. And I look back, and I had all my kids in Chicago, and I look back and I had zero support. Zero. In fact, because I had a business, I went back to work like 2 weeks later after a C-section with all of them, because it was like, that's just the way it sort of was. Yeah. And I didn't have any support. And so you're like burning the candle on both ends, which is insane. What do you think that, you know, when you have a family that checks in with you and says, hey, listen, we're looking for a postpartum doula, what would you say the average doula, or I should say the average family, is looking for in that support?
Yeah, it's so varied, but I'll tell you some big reasons people have postpartum doula support. Overnight is the biggest by far. People need sleep. Families recognize, like everyone needs sleep. And so families recognize and easily see the value in someone coming over, taking care of their baby overnight so that they can get rest, recover, and function. Whether it's their first baby or their third, like when it's their first, the learning curve is very steep. And so they need that sleep to function and think. And then when it's their second or their third, there's a lot of guilt that comes with adding a baby to a family, unfortunately. And families are like, how do I play with my toddler if I'm in zombie mode? Like, I can't even, like I'm moving slow motion and my 2-year-old's moving like a 2-year-old. And so they're like, I want to be a good parent for all my kids. So overnights, across the board, everyone finds value and comfort in that. Daytime, it's very different for different families. Some families adjusting with their first, having an expert in their home, guiding them, answering questions, helping them get into good routines, giving them a break. I mean, that's a win-win. And then, yeah, and then with their, if they're adding another baby to their family, then doing those sorts of things with the baby, maybe not as much teaching, but absolutely, like, it's a busier home. I mean, how many loads of laundry do you have to do in a week? 20, with 3 kids. It's like, yeah, totally. So yeah, when people find out, like, oh my goodness, a postpartum doula will help with laundry, tidying up, bottle feeding, like unloading the dishwasher, washing bottles.
What about meals? Are meals part of it too?
Yes, yeah, cooking, doing meal prep. I mean, people are like, oh, so like everything? Yeah, everything. Like, I always laugh and say, I wish I had a postpartum doula right now.
It's kind of like having your mom there without the judgment.
Totally. Yes. Or like anyone who is amazing helping you that has no real investment in the choices that you are making. The only investment we have is to support you.
Yeah. Yeah. And the support, and then also all of the guidance and tips and experience, where being a new parent, I'm sure most parents are like, what the heck am I doing here? Am I doing this right? Is this latch right? Is this noises that this baby's making, is that normal? And all of the things. And just to have someone there for reassurance too, I would imagine, to be like, this is totally normal and you're going to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. First time parents, especially, it's like, we always say we're the experts in normal. Like, postpartum doulas are like, yeah, that's normal. That's normal. That's normal. Actually, that one I would ask a lactation consultant about, or ask your pediatrician about. But yeah, we know most of the things that feel like intense or wrong because they're so hard, they're normal. But having somebody to say that in the moment makes a world of difference.
Yeah, all that reassurance too, I think, is important, especially in that, postpartum phase for moms, where you're just tired and it's emotional and you're sore and all the things. That having that support, I think, is so awesome. Okay, so shifting gears for a second. So tell me a little bit more about your baby university or parent university. Tell me the classes that you offer, and then tell me, are they in person, online? Give me a little bit more information about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Birth and Baby University is my new baby project. I've been working on it for the past about 3 years now. It's both. So across the country right now, anyone could log in and take virtual classes through there. But in Chicago, we teach those classes usually about 2 to 3 a month of each class in different locations. So my goal is to have in-person classes throughout the country. We have some in Florida right now, New Jersey, a few other locations. So it's getting there. So my hope is that we get educators throughout the country that want to teach these classes. They're amazingly done. Like I said, my background's in education. I was a special ed teacher for 12 years. I have my master's in education, and I really like to make learning usable and palatable. So I'm huge on making sure that people are actually like digesting the information and figuring out how they want to use everything. It's very conversation based, even our online classes. So if they're taking a class, we always ask that they have a support person or their partner with them so that all the discussions are about them as a family. So it's a lot of talk like, oh, why do you want to have an unmedicated birth? Or why do you want to nurse your baby? Or why don't you want to? And how are you going to manage that? And what does support look like? So very thoughtful, provoking activities and questions. And we have some birth classes. So we have preparing for your hospital birth, intro to childbirth, a VBAC class, and then we have bringing home baby, baby care 101, and a breastfeeding class right now. And we'll just keep adding to it. We're building a twin class right now. My hope is that it's just a hub for families to find non-biased, unbiased information.
Oh, for sure. Do you ever find that in your classes locally in Chicago, do you ever find that parents meet each other because they're like, oh, I'm 6 months pregnant and so am I. And then they kind of go through the journey of these classes together and then stay friends? Because it's kind of like a community builder too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And I think that's one of the perks of having an in-person class. We always hope that people connect in there and stay connected, go for walks in the summer and things like that. And we do have an online community as well through Chicago Family Doulas called Preparing for Baby. It's on Facebook and it's a group. And that sort of thing happens all the time in that setting as well. Like people will be like, hey, I live in Lincoln Park. Does anybody want to go for a walk this Saturday? And people are like, yes, me.
Yeah, like pick me. I need to get out of here. Oh, I love that. Okay, so tell, I know that you do the Birth and Baby University. Tell us about the Mama Sessions.
Oh, okay. So that's through Seraphine, which is a maternity store. And it's actually an international maternity store that just opened in Chicago about maybe a year and a half ago. And then they have a location in Los Angeles and in New York. So they reached out to us when they were moving to Chicago and said, hey, I know you do a lot of education. Like, would you be interested in heading this program with us? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. We had already been doing that for Monica and Andy, which is also like a baby and mom family clothing store. And so, we offer the Mama Sessions, which is what we love is that it's free. So families can sign up and learn about, we're doing rotations of 4 hot topics, I guess. And usually they're about an hour long. We have one about infant sleep, one about having a positive experience with your birth. So like how to make choices and things like that. One about coping strategies, and one with a pediatrician called, caring for your newborn for, medically. So so it rotates. We have 4 different sessions and they rotate monthly. So it's like the same 4 being offered. Our hope is that somebody signs up for all 4 of them, and so that they can really gather this comprehensive information. And they're offered at Seraphine Maternity in Chicago. And
perfect. I feel like back in the day, now like back in the day, when I had my first son at the Old Prentice, which was not nice, and then I had my other 2 at the New Prentice, which I was like, this is like a vacation, and it was brand new, and I had a corner room, and it was insane, which was awesome. But before the birth of my kids, I took one class at Prentice. So it was like the getting ready for baby or, something like that. I love that you offer all of these classes so that parents can be just super prepared with everything and knowledgeable and supported and even community wise meeting each other. Are you finding that and no offense to Prentice, but do you find that your classes, because there's so many of them and so thorough to kind of take you on that journey of learning how all of this works, that people are kind of just coming to your classes versus going to the hospital classes? Or like, what's the difference, I guess?
I hope so, but
I hope so too.
Yeah, I mean, I think hospital classes, like a perk of them is that they're familiar with the hospital, right? So that's easy for them. And they're usually more affordable than a private class. But the downside is they're usually less comprehensive and they don't include like a really nice workbook or something like, let me see. I have so like here's our breastfeeding workbook that comes with our class. And it's like so nice and so informational and tons of helpful activities and handouts that we've made. Yeah. So they're not getting like a takeaway like they would in our class. Also, our classes are like 7 couples or less. So it's very conversation based and community based. Our classes are probably about twice as long or more than than most of the hospital based classes. Like think like the breastfeeding class at most hospitals are about an hour, and ours is closer to 3 hours. And it's very activity based and hands on. We have manipulatives and babies and breasts that we're showing and things like that. So it just is, very different activities.
And I would imagine too, just the environment is just relaxed and chill and, ask whatever you need to ask versus being in a hospital. We're already like, I remember walking into Prentice for that class and I was like, oh my God, this is where I'm having my baby. But not for like 5 more months. So it's, hospitals are hospitals.
Totally. Right. And it is right. Like I took a hospital based class, when I had my second, and it was like, you're just sitting in chairs, nobody's interacting. There was nothing hands on. It was just like somebody talking at you the entire time, where that's not how our classes are. So yeah, I think they're very, very different. I always tell families, if you want to prepare for birth and know all the questions to ask and what's possible, take it at private class. If you want to prepare for what the hospital wants you to do, then take a class with them. And some people want to prepare for the process at the hospital only, and that's fine. But, we talk a lot about like asking questions and how you ask a question in 2 different ways, you're getting 2 different answers. And like, we really want families to feel empowered with their abilities to like navigate things. And I don't know if that's always the goal of a hospital based class. I think the goal is usually like, let me tell you how it is. And we're like, let me tell you different ways it can be. and what do you want to happen?
Yes. I feel like it's almost like a box to check, in the hospital. It's like, well, we have to offer this class because we're a hospital and these people need to know what's going on. So check that box. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, ours are very different.
If you were to tell us your top 3 tips on finding the right doula that's a good fit for you, like if I'm a parent and whether I call you guys or I find someone on my own or however somebody finds a doula, what are 3 top things that parents should either ask or look for in a doula?
Yeah. So it depends on their priorities, right? Like some families really they have a vision. I think most families have a vision of what their support would be, what ideal support would look like. And if they don't, I would have that, like formulate that vision. I guess that would be my tip number 1. Like figure out what feels like a supportive person to you. And imagine what that feels like before reaching out to doulas, because doulas are people. So they all have different personalities. Some are super, analytical and will give you lots of information. Some probably feel maybe more like me, like maybe a little laid back, but also like, oh, she knows what she's talking about type feel. Some maybe feel too laid back, but for somebody that feels reassuring. So find out what feels supportive and reassuring to you. That would be tip number one. Tip number two is, be on the same page as your partner and make sure that they're on board with like the questions and things like that as well before the interview. And then three, I guess find out what the support will look like the day of and make sure that you're in line with that, right? Some doulas are like, well, I'll join you when you're 7 centimeters dilated or 5 centimeters dilated. Well, that's like not my philosophy. Like on our team, our philosophy is we join you when you need us. And that's very different. And we don't charge extra if we're with you more than 12 hours, and I totally get why some doulas do that for sure. But I also understand why some families might not feel supported by that. So,
yep. Yeah. You don't want to be in a position either where you're in the middle of labor and you're like, oh my God, it's been 12 hours and I can't really afford to have this person anymore.
Yes, totally. Or like being afraid to call too soon because of that. And it's like, we don't want to be with someone for 60 hours while they're in early labor, right? We want them to have that time with their partner and cuddle in bed with them and watch movies and eat dinner and take naps. Like, we want them to have that time in early labor with their partner. We don't want to be staring at them, really probably jeopardizing the course that labor moves. But it's about them too and what they need. So making sure that, I would make sure that the doula's mindset is like about them, like doulas. I mean, the hard and amazing part about being a doula is like we get to leave ourselves and we check ourselves at the door and now we're just there to support. So it's a very selfless job. And some people, you can really feel that that's what they're doing. And so to me, that's what makes a fantastic doula. A doula that checks their beliefs, that checks their opinions, that checks their worries at the door. And their only worry is this family. And I really do believe it's about that connection as well. So like, if you could connect with that doula, I'd say hire the person you connect with, because overall, like if somebody was, they had 100 births and this person had 50, that stuff doesn't matter. I've seen it all as an agency owner. I've seen new doulas be so much more in tune and amazing and supportive than doulas who've been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah, I find that often. And I tell my families too, just in regards to the nanny search, I'm like, listen, I know you're saying that you want somebody with 20 plus years of experience, but let me tell you a little bit about what that also could look like, which is burnout, and they're just not as engaged. They don't know the new sort of ideas, and they're not progressive at all. So it's like, don't discount the people that just started because they're excited. They're, into it. They just had their training if they're a doula. So I agree. It's all about figuring out what that fit is. If a family calls you, do you kind of take an intake on them, and do you match them personality wise with certain doulas?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're super relationship based. So a family calls us, or actually they usually email us. That's probably the easiest route to get in touch with us. But they email us, we set up a call with one of our family coordinators. So Nicole or Chelsea, they spend about an hour talking to them over the phone. We share information about us. We learn about them. We help them fine tune things, right? Like somebody who's like, well, we'll need overnight support until my baby's sleeping through the night. So probably 4 weeks. And we're like, well, that might be like
realistic.
yeah. So I say say sometimes we're breaking some bad news and reality checks to families, but we're really getting a feel on who they are, what they want, what they're hoping for, why they're hoping for it, all of those sorts of things. And then we take that information and we have like Chelsea's on the other side of it too, but Chelsea, Erica, me, Bryn, we're the doula matchers. So we'll read through all the notes and we'll be like, oh, okay, these 10 doulas would be perfect. Let's see if they have availability. And then we're like, okay, so 4 of them do. Let's reach out to this one first, and then this one, and then this one. So yes, it's absolutely like personality based and then availability. Yeah, so that's our.
It's very, very similar to what we do too, where it's all about the matching. It's who's going to fit in with who. For us, it's obviously about that long-term relationship, but just it's really just all about matching and personalities at the end of the day. And after doing this for so long, I know when I first started my company, it was more about, okay, the resume, the references, the background check, like, which of course it still is, but it's really all about the match and the connection and the personality and who feels right when they come into your home and who just connects with you.
Absolutely. It should feel easy, like somebody being in your home, like whether it's daytime or overnights, for nannies, I'm sure it's mostly daytime. Like it should feel easy and like, oh, this person can really help me, and that it's about, that they're there to like care for your family and yeah, not be judgmental. In my doula trainings, I always say the worst thing in the world you could ever do as an individual and as a doula is go into somebody else's home and judge them. Like nobody wants to. Yeah. So yeah, you should feel like they are caring and loving and helpful in all the ways. And
I always tell my families, your nanny, and same with the doula, is there to make your life easier. Like that is their job. They're there to support you, to help with all the things. And, you're right, no judgment, just really to make your life easier. And if that person's not making your life easier, if you're stressed about it or you're worrying about it, or it's just not the right fit. So it's like moving on, finding somebody who is a good fit, because there's always somebody for everybody. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your September event, which we're excited about.
Thanks. Yeah, we are too. This is funny. I've had a lot of, I've had like the same people on my team for a long time. And Christine, who's helping us get this event going, I guess I emailed her like 7 years ago, like, what I would love to do is this amazing. So and I had forgotten all about it, but she emailed me a couple months ago. She's like, I guess this wasn't a new idea for you.
It's coming to fruition.
Totally. We finally have the resources and the staff to really get things going. It's a big event. I guess we're always thinking of ways to show our community, our partners, and how awesome they are, because one of my big beliefs is that like we stay in our lane and we can help in these capacities, but like families will eventually need a nanny. They'll eventually need hopefully they're reaching out to a lactation consultant in pregnancy. They might need a pelvic floor physical therapist. So we've always shown our clients and our community, like, these are some of our favorite people. Like you might need all of these resources at some point, and start thinking about it now, because I think just having a baby is so overwhelming. So people don't realize it. So that's that was kind of the basis of this event, is like, we want our families to know of these amazing resources, have a day of learning, but also a day of celebration. So it's really a unique event. I've been to so many baby shower type events and expos. It's definitely a high caliber of those. Not too much overwhelming information. I'll be speaking. We'll have we'll be speaking about sleep. We'll be speaking about like hot topics in general. We'll also have like a vendor area where people can go around and talk to, you and other amazing community members and just learn about what's out there, why they should start thinking about it now rather than waiting till they have their baby. And then, other fun things like we'll have the pump spotting bus there, which is so exciting. It's this bus. It is so fun. I'm like, that was like so mind blowing when they reached out to me about it. But yeah, pump spotting is this awesome bus that travels around the country and attracts lots of media and really brings awareness about breastfeeding and pumping and feeding babies. Yeah. So that we'll have photo booths. It's fully catered all day. So a beautiful lunch, a beautiful breakfast setup, maternity photo shoots, massage chairs. So lots of pampering and great gift bags and a giveaway and a raffle. Honestly, yes, such a fun day. So yeah, September 29th, full day, like 10 to 5. At the Arbory in Chicago, a beautiful venue, lots of photo opportunities, just so awesome. So,
well, good. Well, I know we can't wait to be there. It sounds like it's going to be so fun. And you're right. Sometimes those baby showers or expos, I mean, I've been to a lot of them too, and they're just not, it's too, PC and things going on and look here, as opposed to this event, which just seems very like intimate and nurturing and like relaxed, which is exactly what every pregnant mom wants.
Yeah, totally. And they could spend the entire day there. Like that's our hope, that you come for the full day, you eat with people, you get to know them, you talk with a lot of our doulas will be there. I think about 15 of us will be there to like guide people different places, but also just to talk with us and get questions answered, celebrate, have, there'll be like snack stations set up all day. And yeah, really, we just want a full fun day of celebrating, learning. But yeah, I agree. Not overwhelming. We're into the celebration vibe, community vibe. And it will be intimate. We're inviting 150 people to sign up only. So yeah, it's not a huge, and that includes partners. So maybe, 80 couples. If somebody wants to come with a group of friends, we'd be more than happy to have that as well. And
well, that's going to be so fun. So I will, when I post this interview, I'll link all that stuff too, but tell the audience, whoever is watching, where to find you and how to connect with you.
Yeah. So if you find us on ChicagoFamilyDoulas.com, or you can email us at hello@ChicagoFamilyDoulas.com. And yeah, that would be the best way, email. Otherwise, people can call us 312-765-3012. That event we just talked about is on our main page. You'll see that. It's called Baby in Bloom. But yeah, all of our stuff, you'll see we're a one-stop shop for sure. Lots of classes, birth doulas, postpartum doulas. Also, we have a Meet Our Partners page where we highlight all of our partners all the time. So families who are looking for resources in the community, that's a great place to look to.
I love that. Well, good. Well, Anna, this has been such a pleasure chatting with you and learning about all the things and all the resources and partnerships and classes and just all the things, which has been great. And I will definitely link everything when I post this. And if anybody has any questions, definitely reach out to Anna. And thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
You. Bye-bye.